Hi there, my name's Michelle. I'm from Making Recovery Real, and this week is Grief Awareness Week, and the theme is Share Your Story. So I've invited some people along from Say Something Dundee to tell us more about what they do and for them to share their story with the public of Dundee and tell us more about what they do. So I'm going to get them to introduce themselves and tell us more about where they're from and what they do. So Linda, if you can introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Linda McSwiggan. I'm going to actually put my camera off because my connection is really poor and you'll hear me better if I do. So I work at the University of Dundee in the School of Health Sciences. I'm a community nurse by background. And so what I do is I'm involved in teaching students within the university, primarily nursing students and primarily undergraduate students, so students doing their first training. So that's what I do.
Thank you, Linda. Caroline, you want to go?
Yeah, I can go next. So yeah, my name's Caroline. I'm the manager of the Truacanta project, which is a 3-year project that's been funded by Macmillan. It's part of the Scottish Partnership for Palliative Care. And basically our aim is to support communities across Scotland to improve local experiences of death, dying, loss and care. It's kind of a compassionate communities initiative, and the idea behind compassionate communities is really that supporting each other in communities through the difficult times associated with death, dying and bereavement is really the responsibility of everybody in a community, and it's not just the responsibility of public services. So my role is supporting 5 groups or communities across Scotland to work out how they want to do that in their community, and one of those groups is Dundee, or Say Something Dundee.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Linda?
Hi, my name's Linda Sterry. I manage a charity based in Dundee called Funeral Link, and we aim to help those who are bereaved, manage with informed choice around funerals when they lose someone and might be struggling to afford the funeral. We also are really passionate about ensuring that people who are experiencing death, dying and bereavement understand more about it, and we open up the taboo around those subjects. So yeah.
So thank you for agreeing to be in our video chat. There is another key member of the group missing, Nicola Mitchell, who is the Older People's Services Coordinator for Dundee Volunteer and Voluntary Action. We couldn't make it today, but she is part of this little group of people that have come together. So I kind of wanted, this is your opportunity to share your story, really. So I don't know, Caroline, are you the main start? You've mentioned a bit about Truacanta. My belief is that you're responsible for bringing this little group together.
Yeah, in part, that's true. So the way the Truacanta project started, like how we kicked it off, was we just asked for expressions of interest. So we basically just kind of put a call out to the whole of Scotland and said get in touch if you think you'd like to do some kind of compassionate community activity within your area. And it was really open to anyone and everyone. We got loads and loads of interest, and we had to whittle that down to a short list of people that I would then work with to kind of create a final vision for change. And then from that short list, well, we originally said we'd select 4 and we couldn't decide, so we selected 5. But from the original notes of interest, we got quite a lot of interest from folk in Dundee. Mm-hmm. So, which was fantastic, and I thought there would just be a lot of, it would just be good to bring those folk together, to work together, as we're all interested in kind of achieving the same things in the same area. Thought there would be a lot of strength in that collaboration. So it was Linda, Sterry, Linda McSwiggan and Nicola, who you mentioned, and they agreed to work together, and were part of a short list of 11, and I met them in Dundee. I had a first meeting with them in Dundee. I don't know when that would have been, maybe July last year. Seems like a long time ago now. Yeah. And it was, there was a lot of enthusiasm and passion and excitement. It was a great meeting, and I came out of that thinking like, I think good things are going to happen in Dundee from this. Obviously this year things went a little bit upside down in March, and we've had to kind of reassess and like just revisit what we're doing, but things are still happening, and I think there's still that same enthusiasm, same passion, which is great.
Yeah. So Linda McSwiggan, what kind of made you because you know the Dundee Uni aspect of it, what kind of made you think that, to be involved in the Truacanta project? What are you hoping to get from being involved?
I think, well, first of all, before I say anything else, I just want to say, you know, to build on what Carolyn said and say it was like love at first sight. I mean, it sounds a bit, but when Linda, Sterry, and Nicola and I got together, we were just instantly like, you know, just felt so passionate. And although we hadn't met before, but, you know, before our meeting with Caroline, when we got together, we were just like, this feels so right. We all had that sense of shared understanding, shared expectation, and a shared sense that we could do something quite strong in Dundee because we were coming from different backgrounds and, you know, had different contacts. And so so from a university perspective, I had done some work before, kind of outreach work before, with different organisations across Dundee, and I had always found that kind of meeting of minds just had great potential to take you new places. And I find that students really thrive on that as well. Of course, if they see you enjoying something and getting a lot out of what you're doing and working with different people, then they you know, follow, you know, they feel similarly. So I mean, our students obviously, as nursing students, work with people in all different kinds of situations, including ones, people that have been recently bereaved or are facing bereavement in the future, the near future. So for me, I just think they do struggle sometimes, and they'll be quite open about that in the work we do with them, about knowing what to say and when. So as our ideas progress, it just seemed so opportune for us as a university to be linking in with other organisations to see, you know, what we can do, because, you know, our nursing students will be part of the community in Dundee in their professional and personal lives for many of them, because many of them are local students. So let's just see what we can do in terms of upskilling them, getting them more confident.
Yeah, that's great. And what about you, Linda?
Actually, I totally agree with what Linda McSwiggan said. You know, when we did meet, we hadn't met before, but when we did meet, it was just like, they just felt like so many possibilities of what we could do together. And the hardest part of this is kind of narrowing that down to some sort of a plan, which I think Caroline came in on, and we had so many ideas. And yeah, you know, I have always been passionate about ensuring that those who are bereaved are supported as best as they possibly can be. And I come at this a bit from, you know, the poverty and equalities agenda as well. So for me, it's vitally important that people should not miss out on the opportunities for support, regardless of their financial circumstances. So, you know, I definitely think when the three of us got together, and then following up with Caroline and the others who have joined us since, you know, they really felt like we could do so much more as a team than we could do individually. And I mean, the co-production elements are, you know, there's so many different ways we could take this, but really just to ensure that those who are in Dundee feel as supported as they can be, and that we maximise all, you know, opportunities for that to happen. None of us, when we first planned this, could have imagined the circumstances we'd find ourselves in now. And, you know, it has been really difficult to decide how to address what we're going to do, but there's probably never been a better time to do this than now.
Yeah. I'm going to take you back a wee bit, because what I found out about before I knew it was called Say Something Dundee was your Rose Angle event, which seems so long ago, but it's just over a year ago, I think now. And you want to tell us more about that, because I think even you were quite surprised at how well attended it was, and actually the want from people from that event.
Yeah, we hoped to maybe bring together maybe 20 or so people, and I think from memory, I think we had way over 40 to 60. I'm
Yeah,
trying
I
to
think it
recall
was the
now.
top end 60.
It was definitely near
a
60
lot.
that we had. There's a lot of people, and you know, the soup was definitely, you know, distributed amongst everyone, and you know, we all enjoyed lunch together, and we aimed to get, you know, just some collaborative conversations from the community so that we could hear what people needed. That was really the aim of the purpose of that lunch date. And yeah, you know, we had a really productive day that day.
Yeah, because it was a knowledge share workshop. It was bringing
Yeah.
people together to find out, you know, I think some of the questions were, you know, what's existing, what gaps is there, and I know we ran over in every conversation that I think there was like 5 questions, and we ended up having to cut everything short because there was so much. I know the table that I sat at, I was really surprised, as you say, passionate and drive from people and wanting to be involved. And I suppose, like, you know, how did the name Say Something Dundee come about? That something before or after the event?
I think that came. Oh, it was definitely after. From that event, during the event, we got people to, you know, make notes on paper and things. So we had some materials to take away with us and reflect on what people had said in response to the various questions we'd asked. And I think, you know, we took that away, we looked at it individually and then as a group. And really it came out, I think, of that next meeting we had when we unpicked that actually that was a common theme around all the possibilities that we could possibly do. There was that element of potentially people not knowing what to say, perhaps saying nothing when they wished they could have said something. And it seemed to span, you know, whether it's at individual level or more generally on a kind of public level, that message had some resonance there, really. But yeah, you're absolutely right. In terms of the number of people we got there and the diversity of people we got there, it was quite overwhelming, actually. I think none of us quite expected that. But I have to say, it goes back to what Linda Sterry was saying about realising the three of us between us having different networks, the reach that we could potentially have by combining our resource. But also the other quite inspiring thing was that after that meeting, it wasn't a case of people then just sat back and we had people getting in touch with us after that. Saying, so what are you doing next? You know, so then I suppose there was almost a sense, a little bit of, oh gosh, what are we going to do next? You know, a bit of pressure then. I would have to come up with something, because there were people actually, you know, understandably looking for the next step. But you sometimes don't get that kind of motivation and excitement. You know, people see it as an event gone past, nice lunch, good chat, move on. But there definitely was a sense from that people were ready, willing, and able, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know.
I would.
And you go, Caroline.
Yeah, no, I was just going to agree with that. I thought it was a really fantastic example of a community event of people coming together. And I think actually that, like, the name Say Something Dundee is coming after that was really apt, because it felt like certainly the group that I was in and people that I spoke to in the coffee queue, it did feel like people felt it was time and like kind of been waiting for permission to say something and to talk about things. And in the group I was in, there was a woman there who shared a story from, I think, maybe 40 years previously that she'd not shared before, that she'd been carrying with her. And it was around having not known what to say to somebody that was in a difficult situation, and having regrets around that. And that's not a unique story by any means. And I think that, like, that's really stayed with me. It just really felt that people were like, this is something that we want to see happening in our community, to improve things going forward.
Yeah, definitely. So as a result of the event, I ended up joining your steering group.
Yay.
As part of my work, making
And we're delighted to have you.
Worked with Linda in the past, Linda McSwiggan before, so it was nice to reconnect and be involved in Making Recovery Dundee's about story sharing and supporting with people with lived experience of mental health, which bereavement and grief come under, as well, and recovery conversations. And we've got Helen from Macmillan, from Marie Curie as well, involved in the group as well, so it's kind of a wee bit on the back of that too. So we could probably talk more about all our passions and stuff, but wanted to kind of know, you know, we've set up a Facebook, Say Something Dundee. The handle is at Say Something Dundee. All this week, over Grief Awareness Week, we'll be sharing resources and signposting and hoping people can use it as a resource to try and connect, build up our community, compassionate community online. What would you like to kind of see from Say Something Dundee? What's your kind of initial ideas and thoughts? And we can go from Linda, Sterry, you can go.
I think I'd just like to see us, you know, maximising the use. We've got so many resources in the community in Dundee, and maximising them, bringing as much together as we possibly can, so that people can feel as supported as possible and know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because sometimes that's the hardest part, is knowing that it's okay to ask for help if you're maybe not okay. And, you know, there's been lots of light shone on the mental health part of that. But, you know, a lot of people don't think about those who are grieving, and they might think about them at the time of the funeral, but they might not think about them afterwards when things get really tough for many people.
Yeah. And Dundee's like numbers for mental health and, you know, addictions and stuff, you know, is quite high, and a lot of bereavement and grief is underlying all that, but people not even clicking or realising that's what it is. Yeah. So as you say, using the community resources and what's available and pulling that together and having the conversations to Say Something Dundee's important. Linda McSwiggan, do you want to add into that?
I guess, you know, through COVID, you know, our student nurses have been working with the NHS through that. And I know that has been quite difficult for them at times, because, you know, they've been, you know, facing with very, like us all, but, you know, for them in a training situation, facing some difficult conversations and not knowing quite how to support people. But also at the same time, so I've heard it from their perspective, but also I have heard via Linda, Sterry and Nicola and others about the and people that they've met with in the public, what a good job some of our students have done. And there's something about actually getting those two groups together so they can hear it firsthand from each other about, you know, what worked well, you know, and what, you know, if you're in that situation, you should do again, and what you actually maybe didn't work so well and you might need to think about. But there's something there that just would, you know, rather than hearing it second hand, if we could actually get those folk in the same room, I think would just be so powerful.
Yeah, it would be. As well. Caroline, do you want to add to that? You've got the job of trying to rein us all in.
And it is a job. No, I mean, I'm very much in the background, really. I'm just here as a kind of extra support person, and like I have absolute faith in you folk and how you're driving things forward, and it's your community, you know, so you're the ones that you have the connections, and you're listening to the voices in your community to see which direction to take it in. And I guess just I think that what you're doing is already having an impact and making a difference, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I think you're looking at exciting, creative ways to build confidence in the community and kind of equip people with tools, I guess, to just make conversation around death, dying and bereavement just a normal part of life, you know, like that's there are parts of life, and there are parts of life that we should be talking about and supporting each other with. And I think that like what you're doing already are like the small steps towards just achieving that in the longer run, and I'm really excited to see where it goes from here.
Yeah. So this week, over the week, just while I'm thinking of it, I'll give a wee plug. So we are doing a remembrance video. It's like a remembrance playlist. So we're inviting people to come and share a YouTube video of a song that reminds them of their loved one. And we're going to have a remembrance playlist. We also will be sharing resources and videos throughout the week in relation to COVID and bereavement, and then children and young people. On Saturday, it's around bereavement in men. So Doreen from Funeral Link will be having a helpline, a support line that people can phone. So we'll be sharing the details on that for on Saturday. And then we are going to share again the Funeral Link and Faith in Communities remembrance video that you did on the last day, on Tuesday the 8th, which is absolutely beautiful. I loved it, and I lit my candle, and thought it was a nice way to finish the week. And I loved the story about what the lighting of the candle meant and the poems. I just thought it was really nice, and I think that should be shared every month as a remembrance thing, because it was so beautiful. You know, and I struggle with grief, and I know many people do, and it just gives us that time out. So we're going to share that again. But as I say, like us on Facebook at Say Something Dundee. So I said to you, we're going to just finish on a quick message to the people of Dundee. If you can think of something, can be a message of hope, whatever you feel. It's just a nice way to finish a video off.
Perhaps I could say something. I mean, I think I would invite people to not assume that people are okay. You know, if you know somebody who's lost somebody, or that you know somebody that just maybe you haven't seen them as much, or maybe they just haven't been looking like themselves, or maybe they have, because grief can wear such a strong mask. You know, I would just invite you to talk with them, to ask them, and to say people's names. You know, those who we've lost, who have died, you know, the best gift you can have is to enable people to talk about them. And I mean, that to me is amazing. So I think I would just invite you to get comfortable with grief. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's lovely, Linda. Just, you know, it's a lump in my throat, you know, it's hard to kind of discuss. You know, it's kind of one of, I suppose, all our passion is because we've lost someone or struggle with grief and stuff, which makes us passionate about having these compassionate communities and, you know, saying something as well. So I want to say thank you. If there's anything else you want to say, this is your time. Linda, is there anything else you want to add, Linda?
Oh, I was racking my brain there to think, but I mean, I think fundamentally, say something. You know, so often we don't say something because we're frightened of saying the wrong thing, but actually often it's not so much exactly what you say, it's the fact you've reached out and said something, acknowledged that person might not be okay, or that you know they may not be okay, you're aware of it, and that you care. Then that's probably the most important thing than worrying too much about exactly what should I say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'd encourage people to take the courage and say something.
Thank you. Yeah, that's lovely. Both messages are really nice. So yeah, thank you for joining me, and we will be putting this out on Facebook, and please join us and see what else we're doing. And if you've got any ideas, want to get in touch, message the Facebook pages. You know, you can go on and like Funeral Link as well if you need a bit of support. You know, or we'll be putting up where you can get support, support lines and bereavement website. It's a Good Grief Trust, has lots of resources as well. So please don't be on your own. Reach out if you need to as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle.